Corey Brooks, senior pastor, New Beginnings Church of Chicago, founder and CEO of Project Hood, joins us now. Corey, did you not get invited to yesterday's presser?
No, I definitely did not get invited to yesterday's presser, and I doubt that I would ever be invited to anything that Governor Pritzker or Mayor Johnson are attempting to do for our city. So it's definitely a philosophical difference.
What's your can maybe you can help me out? What's your reaction? But also too, especially to Father Flagger, a fellow uh, uh, religious man, religious leader. How's it going around Saint Sabina? How has he moved the needle within his community, church community, and neighborhood after 4 decades?
I'm not really sure about what the crime looks like around Father Flagger's church. I know that it is a high crime area. I know that he's been trying to do something for years in that area, but I don't know whether it's been successful or not. What I do know is that on the south sides of Chicago and the west sides of Chicago, we have extreme crime. And what I witnessed yesterday, to me, was deplorable. For individuals to say that Donald Trump is attacking Chicago when we're not looking at the interests of people's safety in Chicago, that is distasteful. We are living in a city that is under siege. Young black boys are shooting at a very high rate, killing one another. We have people downtown beating people up, robbing them. We have stores being broken into. This is not normal. And we need to bring in the National Guard. I support bringing in the National Guard, but I also stand by the fact that that's a temporary fix. But we do need to calm these streets, and we do need to calm the crime. That needs to happen.
Auburn Gresham, that's where St. Sabina is. 9 homicides, 39 wounded this year. So it's in the top 10 most violent, 7, I think, most violent neighborhoods in the city, which it always is. I mean, so much of this, like what we're talking about, is this is what it's always been. It's been better, it's been worse, but it's always been something like this, at least for the last, I don't know, 40 years, since the 80s at least. And we've just become sort of a nerd to it. And we get the the big city living arguments, and not just from the politicians, but from a lot of the residents too. Say, that's just part of big city living, and they're working on it, and it's complicated, but we're making progress. We just need to stay the course, and they get away with it.
Yeah, our area used to be, in 2014, the Chicago Sun-Times called it the most dangerous neighborhood in all of Chicago. We took control of that, and we've been able to transform it. And I tell people, I'm for the National Guard. I'm for them coming in. But the National Guard is going to stand on corners. But it's a community group like Project Hood that's going to stand in the lives of people and transform the lives. We have to take responsibilities for our neighborhood, and we have to make sure that we change it. Big government and government coming in to save the day never works. And that's going to be a temporary fix. I'm for them coming in, calming it down. But at the end of the day, we have to take control. We have to transform the neighborhood, and we have to do something about it. And we have to stand against Pritzker and Johnson and their rhetoric, and let people know that what they're saying is not true, and this is not normal, and we need to stand against it.
You heard from BLM Brandon. I mean, part of the stock lines from this crowd is about violence interrupters. And even though there's basically $100 million in combined state, county, and city cash to violence prevention programs in Chicago, there's always more money that's needed. But, not all violence interrupters are created equal. For example, earlier this year, a peacekeeper got a 9-year prison sentence for taking part in a mob beating that left a motorist badly injured in Little Village, for example. So, who protects the violence, who interrupts the violence interrupters, sort of thing, to some extent. And others are just sort of pass-throughs for political activists to have a job while they're waiting for the next campaign. So this is just a little bit more complicated. But I want to get your reaction to that characterization of violence interrupters and to the notion that more violence prevention programs and more violence interrupters is really what the order of the day is.
Yeah, I tell people in every aspect of life, in every profession, you're going to have some bad apples. You're going to have some bad apples on the police department. You're going to have some bad apples in the district attorney's office. You're going to have some bad publicists and radio announcers and radio people, public media people. Every profession has some bad apples. And it is true that in the profession of violence interrupters, there are some bad apples, individuals who do not need to work. But for the most part, there are some great guys and great ladies who have turned their lives around and who are doing great job and great work in the community. Do we need to invest more? It remains to be seen. I believe we need to do hardcore metrics. We need to do statistics. We need to do all the things to know if something is working. That a lot of times with government, they fund all these things and they put all this money into things, and they never do the metrics. The metrics don't lie. The stats don't lie. And so we have to use those things to determine if something is successful or not. And I don't think we've had enough time to determine if we need to raise the investment, but we do need to keep the investment and see if it's going to work over time. But there are definitely some bad apples, and there are definitely some people who are using it to fund their political campaigns and their political teams. That's no secret.
What do you see on the South Side in terms of what you hear about violent crime being markedly down year over year? Have you seen a significant, noticeable improvement in quality of life and reduction of predatory conduct in where you operate?
Where we operate, we've seen crime go down is because we have a vested interest, and we've started working with individuals in the neighborhood to change their lives directly, to help them to change their mindset, to get them to take responsibility for themselves. But I will also say this, that it's still violence. Lots of violence. There are still lots of murders on the south sides and west sides of Chicago, and it's even filtering downtown. There is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, too much crime in the city of Chicago. And anyone who does not want to be concerned about the safety of individuals is an individual that should not be an elected official in our city or in our state. And what we're witnessing before us are individuals who are not concerned about the public safety. And that is the number one issue and the number one concern that government should be doing and should be concerned about. And that is the safety of individuals. And I can tell you for a surety that people on the south side and west side of Chicago, they don't feel safe. And downtown, they're not feeling safe. And whatever we can do to make people safe, we need to do it.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because we've had these discussions for many years. As I've said, it seems to be on this perpetual hamster wheel. But I mentioned this a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. But I'm old enough, and you're old enough to remember when it was Chicago Democrats like Representative LaShawn Ford and Cook County Commissioner John Fritchie, who, when there was a spike in crime during the violent crime during Rahm's first couple of years in office, they wanted the National Guard called in when Obama was in the White House. They were promoting it. And I don't recall the hue and cry from their fellow Democrats about them being tyrants, dictators, making a call that was unwanted and unnecessary and otherwise offensive, and that everything is fine and we've got a handle on it, and so on and so forth. So, boy, it's a big rhetorical change from some of the same people in reaction to the same proposal.
People really need to look, especially in our community and on the west side of Chicago, they really need to look at why they continue to vote Democrat. When they continue to see people who they're voting for not be concerned about their interests, that should concern them drastically. And what we're witnessing are individuals who are more concerned about President Trump than they are the safety of their citizens.
Yeah.
And they would rather attack Trump than keep our citizens safe. And that is something that we all need to speak out about and that we all need to say something about, because they're spewing rhetoric. They're spewing malicious attacks against the president. They're politicizing it themselves by having meetings and pressers like they had yesterday. That is definitely not true, and I'm going to say things about it. We need other people to say things about it, because we need to make sure that our children are safe. I'm tired of doing funerals. I'm tired of having to go and see a mother who's crying because her son was shot and killed. That is not normal. And I think they're trying to make us believe that living in these dangerous situations and in these crime-infested neighborhoods, that it's normal, it's acceptable, and something and things are getting better. No, it is absolutely not.
All right. Before we let you go, when are you going full Forrest Gump again? When are you doing your walk across America?
I'm starting my walk across America September 1st in New York Times Square. I'm going to be walking. My team is going to be working in Chicago in our community to make things better. And I hope and pray that people will help us so that we can continue to do all the work that we continue to do. Because like I said, the National Guard can come on the corners and stand, but it's organizations like Project Hood that stand in the lives of people to transform them. So we're going to need organizations after they're gone, and Project Hood is that organization. So help us out.
ProjectHood.org is the website, ProjectHood.org. And you're walking 3,000 miles over the next year from New York to L.A., right?
Yes, 3,000 miles from New York to L.A. to bring hope, merit, and to faith to areas, saving one block at a time, communicating to America one block at a time. But our goal is to raise $25 million so that we can continue to do the work. 1, pay off our center. 2, build a school. 3, create Project Hoods across the country. And 4, build an endowment. So we're trying to do it without the assistance of government, and it's going to take American people to help us to make the south side of Chicago, where we are, a model for what can be done in America.
All right. Well, shelve those Sunday service wing tips and make sure you got comfortable shoes with you for this thing. All right.
Absolutely.
Walk Across America, Corey Brooks, Project Hood, ProjectHood.org kicks off September 1. We'll be following it. Pastor Brooks, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.